Shall we come to order?
Yes.
And welcome our newest official member.
Yep.
Yes.
Mr. White, who is our most distinguished chairman of the select board. And we are very honored indeed that you have been selected to join us.
Thank you.
So thank you.
All right. I make a motion, we elect Randy Warner as chairman. Is that the next thing?
I
The next
second.
thing. Thank you.
We're moving right along.
Moving right along. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think that sounds like, I guess I vote for myself, unanimous. Approval of the minutes. First of all, we are most indebted to our.
Wait, do you want to do the other officers or no?
Oh, thank you very much. Yes. Actually, the only thing in our trust agreement is for a chair. But I would like to propose that we have a vice chair. And if everyone's in agreement, I would like to nominate Jan Ackerman as our vice chair.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are not,
Aye.
I didn't ask you if you would accept.
I know.
You
I like
accept.
how that happens.
You just got bullied into that one. We officially don't have to have a secretary, but we have a problem. I guess right now we don't have someone who we can pay to take the minutes.
I don't think it's that we don't have some, we just don't really have a town policy yet because we have, the regulatory boards have things like notices of intent and, legal requirements to get information back to folks who want to renovate their homes or whatever. And so I think that right now, our unstated policy, though, Michael suggests we bring this up at the select board, is to have a policy and then apply that to all of the non-regulatory boards like this one. So I'll put that on the agenda for the next meeting and we'll talk about it. And then if someone doesn't mind taking minutes, or I don't mind doing them if necessary, since I'm creating this hassle. But I see you pulling out your pad.
I
so-
did it last time.
Yeah, you did such a good job.
And she did such an
Yes.
In
excellent
fact, I'm
job.
okay if you just want to always do them.
I don't always.
Because it's like,
I had asked if she would be the executive secretary.
Doesn't executive get paid?
all right.
I can't get paid.
Doesn't, that's right.
How about we nominate a grand poobah?
I'm
Grand Poobah,
The grand poobah's responsibilities are to take the minutes.
or to write very simple.
Yes,
not-
I
not
can do that.
overbearing.
I can do
But we do have, I think everyone has a copy of the minutes,
Mm-hmm.
which Liz did, and were extensive and very complete. And for that, we are very grateful. Thank you very much. Can we have a motion to approve?
Move to accept the minutes.
Second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. And Elizabeth, we had a small problem that we had some members appointed to three-year terms, but I think
fixed that.
you fixed that, and now Elizabeth is on for a second-year term. And as we get, were you appointed, Patrick,
I was appointed,
for a two-year term?
yes.
Okay.
We're all 2 years?
No,
I think we staggered it so that we could,
I'm 1 year.
You're the only one.
how many, you're the only one?
I'm the only.
All right, so I was appointed to a one-year term. Is that Michael? Is that okay, Michael?
Michael, is Patrick a one or a two-year?
I thought he was a one.
Yeah, good, I'm one. Okay.
Okay,
We're going to go with that.
2 ones and 3 twos. All right. I don't know if that'll win the lottery, but
Yeah, exactly.
we are absolutely taking care of our housekeeping things. The next item is, I use the word ex officio members, but I did consult with the lawyer and she suggested that we ask people if they would be advisors.
Okay.
And one of those people is in attendance today and
Hi, Jim.
asking Jim Welch if you would be an advisor to our group.
I would be happy to help.
Good.
Would be delighted to have you, which is terrific. Pinewoods, I don't know if we asked June. Did we, Liz?
I mentioned it.
And she said,
I think she's interested.
good.
Okay.
Good, all right. So
Do you think
June
it's
would,
better to have a construct advisor or a resident?
Who's
She's-
June that you mentioned?
Oh,
To begin with?
June Wolf is the manager at Pinewoods.
Oh, she's the manager.
Yeah, the construct manager for Pinewoods was also Kathy.
Construct. She's actually the head development person for housing.
Yeah, that sounds
Construct.
pretty good.
There's someone that is the actual manager, day-to-day manager.
Yeah, Kathy.
Okay, sorry about that.
But June is the senior person responsible for that development. It it seems to be well.
Those are skills we need. I mean, yeah.
She's got enormous amount of information and help.
Okay.
Oh,
I know.
It's
amazing.
Very helpful.
Enormous amount of information is good. You've met with her?
I have met with her on the telephone.
Okay.
I met with her on the telephone too.
Yes, she likes to meet on the
You've
telephone.
met her in person before, have you?
I don't know. I've talked to her a bunch of times. I don't think ever in person. It was COVID. But yeah.
She's anyway, she's a very, very competent person. And I, on Monday, met Rebecca Wendell, who is the executive director for Riverbrook. And I went over and actually met with her in person and actually met some of the women who were there. And they have 22 units, which are a very integral part. Yes, Michael, could you go on mute? Thank you. Anyway, I was able to meet with her and she's very interested in also being an advisor.
Oh,
to
that's
us.
excellent.
And she's
Excellent.
enormously competent and that they have just finished a major capital improvements program over there. CPC has been helpful to them. And she has a fire escape project that they need a new fire escape. And so that might be something that we could be helpful with. But she was, I'm not sure she could even listen. She was going to listen tonight, but I think she's going to review, look at our meeting afterwards. But she said she would be very interested in also being an advisor.
So that's Jim Welch and June.
June Wolf with an E.
June Wolf for Pine Woods.
Yeah.
And Rebecca Wendell, Wendell. So Rebecca's interested in coming to our meetings, and particularly if we are discussing anything.
I have a number of friends that have people, their adult kids are there. A number of them, like a half a dozen about.
Well, it's a wonderful place.
Yes.
It's really, really, and they do a great job. It's got a long, we should have her come and talk to us as
Yep.
Andrew's doing tonight. But, so that was a breakthrough. I was really pleased to have found. I think I was the only person who didn't know about Riverbrook.
Okay.
Don, would you like to fill us in?
Yeah, just a brief, let's see. So, Michael was nice enough to, email a paragraph to me that was straight out of our trust document, that said, neither the trustees nor any agent or officer of the trust, which would be us, shall have the authority to bind the town, except in the manner specifically authorized herein, in accordance with a specific provision. The trust is a public employer, and the trustees are public employees for the purpose of this. The trust shall be deemed a municipal agency, and the trustees a special municipal employee for the purpose of GLC 26A. So basically, he emailed that to me and tell me if I'm wrong, Michael, but just to be sure that, we're not able to, we're not going to be a fiduciary. We don't have that responsibility. We can't spend money. The town spends the money. We recommend it. So we cannot be responsible or be considered a fiduciary in that respect. Is that correct, Mike?
So that's my understanding. I did send all this to our insurance company to make sure you guys would be covered under our public employee insurance. They said yes. They said the only time that some affordable trusts in other communities like Boston and others own property, and if you get into that, that's where we'd have to bring on extra levels of insurance. But I don't see that as something maybe down the road, but I don't see that anytime in our near future.
So under the definition of insureds, it includes individual volunteers on boards and committees and et cetera. So the named insured is the town of Stockbridge, but, the definition of who is insured is the town of Stockbridge and any people that participate as employees or anything like that. So we would individually be covered just like the town of Stockbridge was. And the limits are 1 million per occurrence, 3 million aggregate with a $2,500 deductible. I assume the town would be responsible for a deductible if someone came after us.
Yeah. And we get sued, I mean, not regularly, but we have been sued before.
Yeah.
And as an intimidation tactic, sometimes the plaintiff will name one personally. I happen to have been named personally in the lawsuit for on the Conservation Commission. And it is absolutely the town, town's great lawyers, and the lawyers take care of it. And it's just simply, not anything to worry about.
Okay, yep, so we can check that box as far as I'm concerned and move on.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Don. We're very grateful for your expertise. That's wonderful. Janet? Hello. Hi, Michael.
Okay, so hi. I had a very nice conversation with Gwen Miller in Lenox about the Lenox Housing Production Plan that was for 2017 through 21. It was in your booklet that everybody has. I don't know if you've had a chance to read through it, but there are a couple of points that I wanted to make following reading it and also the conversation with her. There are it's listed with two consultants. One is RKG Associates and the other is Barrett Planning Group that worked with them. It turns out that Judy Barrett originally was with RKG, and then during the course of this study, actually started her own business, the Barrett Planning Group. So she's the main person who worked with them on that whole housing production plan. And she did basically all of the data collection and data analysis, and also facilitated a lot of the public meetings. So they set up the public meetings, but she was really facilitating them and the whole discussion around that, as well as developing some of the priorities and just putting things out for discussion about what might be the priorities for the town. So Lenox is considering doing another housing production plan because this one ended in 2021. But they're debating who to work with because while Judy Barrett is very capable and did a very good job on this one, she has, with her new firm, just lots and lots of commitments all over Massachusetts. So they're also going to consider Jen Goldson, who is with the J.M. Goldson Group in Boston, and maybe some others, but that's just so as we're looking at who we might want to engage for all of that, that's the feedback on.
Can I ask a question? So the definition of you're referring to this as a production plan? So that would be just a overview, right, and goals and plans and what they want to do in general.
Right. Well, it's basically looking at the whole housing inventory and kind of the demographics of the community and looking at what the trends might be in that. And of course, Lenox is not up to the 10% level. So part of their plan was to try to figure out ways to add to their inventory of that.
So when you're not at 10%, there's the chance of a hostile 40B, which means the developer can come in and kind of do things. So to stay in good graces with the state, housing production plans are often produced as a what is that term, Michael? It's when you're at a safe harbor. So here's the thing, we are at 10%. So we are not required to do this. And I think that it's helpful for us to have town involvement in talking about housing issues. And the housing production plan doesn't just have to focus on affordable housing. It can focus on workforce housing. Personally, I don't think that the market housing, not rather than workforce, needs much help here when there's so much tear downs and rebuilds and everything else. But, thinking about workforce housing, about accessory dwelling units, about affordable housing, especially focused on obviously Heaton Court and Pine Woods, I think is a helpful conversation to have. But I also don't think that this town is we get a lot of work just looking at those issues, and we're not going to be, doing this giant, somebody talking to me the other day said, our plan was to blanket the town. And obviously that's not exactly accurate. I mean, I think we've got a lot of work just focusing on making the place we have the best places we can have. So I don't know that we necessarily need specifically the same kind of plan as Lennox. And I'm open to and because this housing production plan was my idea. So, and I'm just letting you know that if you feel like we need some other kind of planning, I'm completely open to it. For example, maybe we just skip the first part, move to the second part and do a study of Pine Woods or study on Heaton Court or whatever. I am completely open to having the experts guide us as to what the best way to deploy that. And we have to go back to the select board and say, upon reflection and talking to people who actually know what they're talking about, we decided to do this. I'm okay with that. So,
Okay. Let me tell you what else I learned in this conversation for what it might be worth. So their housing production plan encourages the possibility of seasonal and weekend rental excise tax as a way to fund some of that. And since that plan, Massachusetts has passed a state law for that kind of a tax on seasonal lodging and so on. So, and Lennox receives part of those tax proceeds back, which they put toward funding affordable and workforce housing. So I'm assuming Stockbridge also gets some back from that. I don't know where the money goes at this point for
It
that.
goes to lower your taxes. I mean, we upped in 2021, we voted to raise the occupancy tax from 4% to 6%, and Airbnbs and other, short-term rentals are included in that. So, and business is booming because those revenues are up significantly this year from prior years, partly because we raised it, and so,
Do you know how much we receive?
I think that between occupancy tax this year, Michael, was going to be 600,000 or 700,000, 600,000. What's your guesstimate? Yeah.
No, it's us. It was the last 4 quarters, we brought in 623,000.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's a lot.
Right.
So that's not being dedicated to specifically to affordable, it's just.
No, that's
General
dedicated to.
revenues.
The general fund.
Reducing everybody's.
It's part of the pool of receipts called local receipts. And, we've been really trying to focus on maximizing local receipts because literally every dollar we take in is a dollar we don't have to raise from property taxes. So, it's pretty simple math. And, but that doesn't mean that these priorities shouldn't be in the budget. I mean, we just have to articulate what they are and make a case for it. Yeah.
So we're not, affordable housing is not a line item
No.
in the Stockbridge general budget.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a new thing, but, but the last 2 years, we have, it is one of the community preservation buckets. In the last 2 annual town meetings, we funded a total of $225,000 for it. So,
Okay. I don't know if you saw this, but this is what Lennox has done recently.
Right.
And
So
maybe
it's one of the things that they've done.
Great.
So one other thing that Gwen mentioned to me was when they did this housing production plan, or I think it would apply to any planning we might want to do, whether it's a production plan or not, they received funding from the one-step planning program from the state. I don't know if we would be eligible for that, but it might be worth looking at in terms of whatever planning we might want to do. I do know from looking at their website that applications are only accepted during the year between May 2nd and June 3rd. So if we want to do something, we need to kind of decide what that might be.
Isn't it also true that if we use Berkshire Regional Planning, that's included in the state funding? I don't know if that's true, Michael. I'm pretty sure that is though. That housing production plans are, if your regional planning group produces them for you, they're included. They're free basically.
Oh,
Or is that not true?
I don't know that.
All right, well, that's another option.
That's something we'll have to
I'm
look
pretty sure it
into.
is.
Right. This plan is something they just did. But it covers the entire county. It isn't focused on us. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a general statement of,
This is
The
new
housing.
information for us. I haven't seen this before. Is that
No.
correct? Okay.
my apologies.
Oh, no apologies
Because-
necessary. Just
They
asking.
made it on our
I
new
did-
color copier.
That's right. No, Berkshire Planning sent these to me and I didn't have your home address. Otherwise I made certain other deliveries.
I'm not caught up with the current information yet, so.
so one or
Patrick,
two
you
other,
had.
I can get one. Or you email it to me and I'll have a.
one or two other quick things and then we can move on. One thing which I was not aware of, but many of you probably are aware of, that there is a big development that is planned in Lenox near the Marriott Hotel, and it will have 65 units, $30 million project that seems to be going forward. And Lenox has already issued a $500,000 loan to the developer. They're very supportive of moving forward with it. It's going to be not only affordable housing, but mixed use. So it will have workforce housing, et cetera, et cetera. So that was an interesting thing to know.
Well, Jen, were they the instigators, the trust?
Well, I think the developer, which is Penrose, started it and approached Lenox government. And they've worked out an arrangement with Marriott, which objected at first to, having it that close to them. But
Now there's no owners also at Marriott, but that's okay.
anyway, so that's one other thing. And then, as you mentioned, Lenox bought these two houses, renovated them, put them up for auction. Those two houses have now sold. They're settled. And there are 30-year deed restrictions on them, so which requires that if the house is sold, it has to be sold at a level that will meet the same 80% of the area's minimum family income affordability. So I'm sure there's a formula for how that translates into market value for the real estate.
So the trust actually bought these properties and hired contractors and renovated them?
I thought it was the Shafroffs that built, or somebody, sorry, I don't mean to name without knowing for sure. I thought that they worked with someone who bought them pre-renovated, but I don't know what the details are, but obviously they funded it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they funded it. I actually don't know for sure the ownership of it, so.
Okay.
But now it's been sold to new owners, so they own it. And then the last thing is that Lenox does make grants to first-time homeowners, up to 5% of the purchase price or $10,000, whichever is less. And those grants are basically to the homeowner. If they move and sell the house prior to 5 years, they have to repay it, but otherwise it's,
And so so it doesn't go on the affordable rolls for the grants?
I don't think so.
So the person gets $10,000, say, as a help for a down payment. And the only requirement is they live there 5 years.
Yes.
And after that, they can sell it, but only at the same
They
sort
have,
of
well, they
formula
have to return the money if they move before 5 years.
before.
But after
Now,
that, but
They don't have to return it.
No, but what, can they sell it for anything they want, or is it within the
I think-
guidelines again?
I think they can, but that's a good question. So I don't know for sure they do it for all first-time homeowners or whether it's just within affordable housing.
Yeah.
kind of definition. So we'll need to find that out.
Interesting.
It was my understanding that it has to be, it's similar to the other one where with the
Housing.
lottery homes that you were talking about before, that I thought that it had to go on the affordable rolls, but I could be wrong.
Okay. All right.
Do you know how many of the first-time homebuyer loans they've made?
I don't know.
And is that the only qualification, just being a first-time home buyer?
No, there's usually income
Income level.
qualifications too.
Yeah, there probably is an income level.
Well, that's great information. Good ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she say how much money they have?
No, I didn't ask her that,
Okay.
point blank.
No, it'd be, I mean, curious to see how much they've, because they've been in effect for 5 years or 6 years, I guess now.
Yeah.
And they've done a plan and, but, so if there's 65 units, it may put them at the 10%.
Right.
Okay.
And what did you say it was going to cost to build it?
30 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good back of the envelope though, as we look at Pine Woods and other places, it's a good back of the envelope number to use. Basically 500 grand a unit.
That's a nice area too for Lennox, back there sort of away from downtown and it's sort of just tucked away and it's
Yeah, but
quiet.
close enough, yeah.
Nice, yeah.
So, and it's easy to drive to and it's on the bus line. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bus line is a major advantage for that. I know that the Marriott, there was quite a bit of hoopla when, because the Marriott objected.
They worked out an arrangement.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but
Okay, terrific. So do you think it would be useful to have her come and talk to us?
I think if we have other things specifically we want to learn from her, yes. But otherwise, not necessarily.
Okay, because there's also a chair of their trust. I think the woman's name is Kitts.
Mary Beth Mitz,
Mitz.
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 Mitz,
Is,
like
is
cashew Mitz.
catching mitts. And there is what I wasn't aware of, it just came to my attention that Williamstown has had one since 2010. And they have built a major project and have done really quite a bit. They've been very, very active. And I thought maybe, I haven't had a chance to talk to them, so I don't know really anything other than what I read, the analysis of it. And it sounds like, I don't know, have you had any contact?
Not with the
them?
Williamstown folks, no.
Because they have been in effect and active for the longest amount of time. And there are 5 of us now that, there's Williamstown, Pittsfield, Lennox, Stockbridge, and Great Barrington all have trusts now trying to
Yeah.
affect the affordable housing. So, Jan, thank you very much. Liz,
That's me.
you're on.
Okay, I spoke with June Wolf on November 1st, which it was a matter of when are we in our cars and when can we talk to each other. She said that historically Stockbridge has been really responsive to whatever requests they've made. I know there was something that went around that said, oh, you never get your place painted. Well, that was really because of COVID during the pandemic. They weren't going in to paint anything, but if you need your house painted and it's not about changing colors, if it needs paint, it can be arranged. They just have to ask. So that was like, oh, good.
Inside and out?
Out is their responsibility all the time. I don't know how they deal with that, but this is just for, I think if you brought something up to their attention saying the clapboards are falling down, they would certainly come. I do know that they own quite a few properties and they've just acquired 2 large pieces of property, which they're going to work on. They only have 2 maintenance men for all of this. So that stretches them thin. And they certainly they bought the Windflower Inn and they bought Casellas Farms. These are 2 big properties. So they have a lot going on. But she said they are open to being spoken to. Stockbridge has achieved our 10% affordable housing. And we were actually one of the first in the state to do so, which allowed the town to create the CPC. And that, that funds affordable housing among other things. And whatever they give us, the state matches. So we actually are in we're in good shape in terms of that. She's worked in this sector for a long time, and she's seen a change in Stockbridge where we were more inviting to this kind of idea, and now we don't seem, the feeling doesn't seem as inclusive, that she's running into a few barriers. And that has to do with the kind of changing of hands of properties and who's living here and who's not. And what's really missing is the age group 20 to 40. And there's places in Stockbridge who are begging to have affordable housing here because we need workforce housing. We need something that's affordable for people to come and raise their children. And, I just wonder what the town will look like in 10 years without this. We won't have anybody working. Everybody's going to be really old. And we're going to need help. And there's nobody here to help us. Just town offices. Who's going to step up and do this if you're just out of town all the time? Who's going to be on the fire department? Who's going to be your EMT? Who's going to be your plumber? All these things. They were always, I was here as a young person and everybody was here, and we're watching them age out or go away, or our children move away because there isn't as much to do. So that's a real concern. One of the things she did mention, because I believe she's from Monterey, and she said, we don't have a fire department really that's available all the time. And so now they're paying for overnight firemen because they come from different towns. So you can't ask somebody from Beckett or from Dalton to just be, so they're paying them to come. It's something we're going to have to think about as a town.
Yeah.
Should we not have this age group? I mean, the way she was thinking wasn't just about today, it's about the future, which really, really got me thinking too, which is part of why I'm part of this. But so somehow we have to figure out a way to find more affordable housing, and whether we do that with zoning changes, which I'm sure is going to be a little difficult. But it's hard to, and I think they found this out in Lenox too, is that when you're trying to have multifamily housing, then your setbacks are bigger, you have to have more parking spaces, and all of a sudden, what you had in a house becomes smaller and smaller if you want to add, a certain amount of units. So that's something to consider. Are there variances for that? Maybe. I'm on the planning board and I don't know the answer to that question because I'm new. But Lenox went through those hurdles. And so I think we'll certainly learn a lot from them. Otherwise, I'm trying to keep it in a nutshell. One of the things, are there properties that have been abandoned? Are there properties in need of repair that somebody might want to give or, sell us something that would be nice? Are the rentals that are out there, are they being cared for properly? Are they up to code? Is that being taken care of? And that's something I think we need to find out. And then there were things, she said, there's a lot of information out there. And one of the people that can come speak to us is just for an information session is one of the AG's assistants. And I've been at a realtors conference where they have done that, and it's really informative and it's terrific. I mean, I would definitely go for that. June is going to do one next time we're here. I think she'll have a lot to teach us, but I just think she opened my eyes. I know that this is a problem here, but I feel like I learned a lot from her. So speaking to her or having her speak would be informative and helpful.
One technical question, which is, with the number of, as I understood from the number of units that are there, we can't access federal funding to do renovations unless we have more units. Is that right?
When I spoke to her, I asked that specific, and I think you also spoke to her about the possibility of adding.
Yeah, or like raising the buildings. We can't build anymore. What's there is wetland. If you were to, I said, what if we built up? She said, that's impossible. She said, the soil is too damp. I mean, it's just not going to hold anything higher.
Well, my question was,
Well, probably you have to go down to bedrock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like any building.
From a federal perspective, it does, or for that program, whatever the funding is, do the other, if we had other units, do they have to be physically in the same location?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I think it has to be contiguous. Yeah. That's
has
my
to be.
understanding, but who knows?
When I spoke to her, I asked about that question. I said, can you be specific about it? And she said, it has nothing to do with federal regulations. What it has to do with is that that project was done with tax credits. And the tax credits are over and complete. So in order to get new money to do maintenance, because we can't use our CPC money for quote maintenance, you sell tax credits again. And it has to do with marketing, that people who buy well, first of all, there are fewer people who buy tax credits today, according to June. And that people who are interested in buying them want to buy them into newer, bigger units. And that message about 50 or whatever being a number has to do with marketing. That if you're out selling tax credits for affordable housing, people pick and choose where they want to buy them. And that because this unit is older, it isn't in terribly good condition. And it's not sexy. I mean, it isn't something that people who buy these things are interested, and they have other choices. So she said the issue that and I got this information also from Laura Schurfeld, is that?
Right.
At the state, she's at one of those alphabet soup places.
Yeah.
But her job is to reach out. And she said that there are two ways for older units to get, after the tax credits are over, the first round of them, is you sell more. And the issue is, as I just explained, or you go and borrow more money. And right now, I don't think the income, I don't know whether June spoke to that whether the income, maybe we could get more clarification. But it doesn't have anything to do with the size of,
I understand.
as both June and Laura explained to me, it has more to do with the condition and the age. And as these things age, and I don't know if June said to you, but she said that there were issues when that development was built. It was not, shall we say, the people who were in charge were not as informed and capable as everyone would have hoped. And so there's some long-term issues there. But I don't know whether she'll share that with us when she comes. I don't know, Patrick.
I think we ask her, and I think the question I would have on rebuilding is just, I mean, things get built next to beaches all the time, and they just drill down to the rock. I mean, so I don't know. We don't know. And that's one of the questions I think we should talk about trying to get answers to. Is I think you're right. At the big picture, we got to reimagine it, and I think we should figure out what our options are, because it's not going to get any better. It strikes me that the tax credits are like crypto. You do some math and all of a sudden the money appears, as opposed to borrowing money where you actually have to make a payment. So figuring out how we get it, sexy enough for tax credits, it seems like it should be a real big goal, because boy, that's a whole lot easier than,
Paying off a loan.
Yeah.
But it's like all of this financing of affordable housing units, there's these layers and layers in order to get enough money to do them well. So I'm not sure that the pressure to build more units there is it wasn't clear to me that that was the answer. Right? The answer is sort of chicken and egg. You've got a set of units there that aren't in the best of condition, and how do you get them into best condition, right? Is it a marketing question, or is it, is it just straight fundraising? Where you're looking for, I think they're a 501c3, aren't they? Construct.
Construct out,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and I think they raise a lot of money, but I think we really need
To find out more
June
about that.
here to help us. Okay.
All right.
I will be very quick on mine. I just found this housing study. It's very, very general, and I don't think we need to fund another study that has this kind of, there's this, the Lennox one. I don't know if there's is there any way we could collaborate if they're going to do another one? It seems to me that we could use some basic information about the condition of our housing stock, the size of it. We know where our affordable housing is, and we are, as a community, have more of it than most, except perhaps Williamstown, if we look into what, they've done. But I think for the next meeting, I will take responsibility, and perhaps we could work together in making, having a proposal for everybody to evaluate on what we should do in terms of gathering. Can we call it gathering information about the town's housing stock? And we're systematically getting information on our own affordable projects. So maybe we can come up with some recommendation on what we might do. And Don, I think the center of attention now is, do you want to come up and?
Let me just
Don's gonna-
preface you coming in, okay? To let everyone know that on October 27th, Stockbridge Affordable Housing Trust and the Stockbridge Housing Authority met. Andrea Lindsay, the executive director of Stockbridge Housing, Jim Welch, the board chair of Stockbridge Housing Authority, Randy Warner, and myself, both of this trust, met. She gave us an overview that it started in 1977. Began under a fund of Chapter 667 housing, which really benefits people that are 60 years or older or qualifying disability. Income limits are $47,150 per individual, or $53,850 for a couple. And the rent itself is based on 30% of that gross income, minus 3% for medical adjustment. They have 53 Chapter 8 vouchers total, the Stockbridge Housing Authority.
An increase of 12 from last year.
Oh, that's great.
Wow, that's terrific.
They have 9 special use vouchers for fostered youth initiative, which is really cool. And where does the money come from? From the state and from the federal Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development, the DHCD. And federal comes from HUD. We discussed doing a feasibility study on building another structure. We touched upon that. That would hold approximately maybe 8 more units, because the buildings roughly have 8 units apiece. Andrea spoke to a gentleman named Edward Sheen at the DHCD and he referred her to the Mass Housing Partnership for Technical Assistance Coordination, which is who the Commonwealth of Massachusetts partners with in these type of things. Most recently, Andrea uncovered that there were some restrictions in the deed that mentioned, there really can't be any more development on that land. And the land that, well, and you can hitchhike on that as soon as I'm almost done. Consequently, if we're not able to build, to me, it seems like low-hanging fruit to be able to work with you and help you with these capital renovations and things of that nature that need to be done. You look at the place when you drive by, it has a pristine look, it looks real good. Get a little bit closer, you can, you can see what stuff that needs to be done, maintenance needs to be done, right? And Andrea has put together a list of projects that need to be done over the next number of years. And some of these are easily considered capital improvements, things like heating and roofing and things of that nature. So that's kind of the summation of what we discussed. So I guess at this point, we would hand
I'd
it
like to
over.
invite you to come up and talk to us.
Yes.
But I also move the camera so that they, yeah.
I can sit right here.
But
So
can we
Laura
hear you?
Schufelt, I spoke to her
Oh, did you?
at Mass Housing Partnership. And she is looking into the deed. I got a copy of the deed, and it's got something about trees. Some kind of ash trees. And then-
Ash trees?
Hold on,
Well, they're all dead, so that's good.
are they?
Yeah, the ash trees, ash borers killed just about every tree in town.
Big tooth aspen trees.
Oh, aspen. Oh,
Wow.
that's good.
So, Laura Schufelt, she's got the dimensions, not dimensions, the longitude and latitude, and so she's looking at the deed now. And she'll be back to me.
All right.
If it's the whole property, or a piece of the property, maybe somebody knows here at town. It looks like the piece of land that goes along Prospect Street was given to them by the Laurel Hill Association, or the Laurel Hill Association put this restriction on here.
That would sound more realistic, like it, wouldn't it?
That we would put the restriction?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes, would you?
Okay. Said parcel is conveyed upon the condition that it is used solely for purposes of landscaping and is never built upon in any manner whatsoever. And that the big tooth aspen trees which stand on said property, particularly the one reputed to be the largest in Berkshire County, are preserved and not destroyed or damaged in connection with any construction which may take place on the adjoining property.
Understood.
So what, are those the trees that march along Prospect Hill? How are they identified?
Yeah, so we're not building there, that's for sure, right now. Yeah. But also, it's also like the nice walking area that, that residents use, and yeah, I get it, that's fine.
But the thought was, in terms of where you might build, your property comes to a point and is quite wooded at that point. There's a section you have some walkways through, I think. But is there a lot of trees? Do you think
In
that,
that wooded area.
in that wooded, you can't tell from the deed what this area is?
She's looking into it.
Oh, yeah. If it's a deed restriction too, it's going to be at the Central Berkshire Registry too.
She's gonna figure it out. She's got all the longitude, latitude of what it is and how much of the property that is talking about, whether it's all of it.
The whole,
I'm not sure whether that just, I've heard stories that they didn't want anything in the front there on the big,
Right.
when it was
Big
developed.
lawn, and this is right.
I don't think you'd want to develop anymore in the front. But I think the only parcel, and I guess the question is that,
I'm
but
thinking the
that-
trees are that,
you think the
so?
trees are in that?
but I don't know. She's
Triangle.
gonna let me know.
I'm thinking you're probably right.
I know that, I happen to have a friend that lives nearby your development. And he was saying that he wouldn't be thrilled to have all those trees cut down to have another building put
I had a
up.
resident tell me that too. I did not vote for that.
There may be other options, though, other areas. around you where there might be willing neighbors to collaborate with us. Because the question is not to build because we want to build, but you have 150 people on a waiting list. There's
Almost 1,500.
1,500?
1,500. Wow.
1,500.
I left
On that particular list, yes.
Wow.
For
Oh,
state
my-
housing.
Oh, my
I
goodness.
did a really quick survey, but there's not everybody is from Stockbridge on that list. It's a consolidated list. So the last time I looked at it, I had 14 local residents.
Who are income qualified?
They're just on the list.
Okay.
As they come up on the list, then we make the determination. Veterans receive preference. There's a lot of veterans on the list. And I have 2 local emergencies as well. So that's 16 local residents that actually live or work in Stockbridge.
who are in
One
need,
local veteran too.
who are in need, who are on your list and
We're waiting on.
who need housing.
Yeah.
How many vacancies do you have a year?
When I started, there was none, and then during COVID, we had 9, which is a lot for Court. We had 3 last year.
Right. I would say that usually, the year we had 9 was exceptional. It's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 4 a year, that turn over, because once people move in there, they stay there until, they can't anymore. So it's not as though people are moving to other communities to get jobs somewhere or anything like that. These are people who are sort of going to be where they are, So that's why we don't have a huge amount of turnover. I mean, that's one of the reasons, that we would really like to try to at least do something, even if it's something small. At least it would be, it would be an effort, and that's how we look at it. One of the things we talked about during the meeting was actually, and again, this is way down the road, but we actually talked about building some 2-bedrooms for people who can live on their own, other than the fact that they need help, because there are people who can live on their own, but they do need 24-hour-a-day help. And those kind of people, if not for that kind of housing, they would be in nursing homes where they don't necessarily need to be or should be. I can speak for my own self. As I've started to get older, I have a disability, obviously. I'm in a situation now where I need more help. But I can still live on my own. There's just a couple things that I can't do as well as I used to. So I have help, but I certainly could use more. And so that's what we're trying to do. I mean, from my perspective, I'd like to do something so that we can keep people out of nursing homes. Because I've been in a nursing home over a long period of time, and it's not fun. You lose your whole sense of what's going on in the community, what's going on in the world. And we don't want to do that to people. We want to give people an option so that they can maintain as much independence as they can. And that's what
That's really important.
How many 2-bedrooms do you have, Andrew?
I have 1.
One.
You have 1.
I have 1, and then I have the 51 bedrooms. And then the property up above, Stockbridge House, that the Department of Developmental Services, those are 2 4-bedrooms.
Right, you provide similar services to Riverbrook, is that correct?
To Riverbrook? No.
No.
No,
It's staffed by the Department of Developmental Services. They pay us rent and they run their program there. It's fully staffed 24/7.
right. What I meant by that is that the kind of service that you offer in that unit, that section, is similar to the services that are offered at Riverbrook.
I I'm not sure what Riverbrook does. I know that that's a very nice place, but yes, there's, 4 individuals each unit, and there's people there that care for them, cook for them.
But are they, do you offer, do they have work opportunities and are they integrated in the community? Or these people who are so disabled?
I'm unsure of that. I don't think so.
Okay.
I know that they do go out. They maybe are going to other programs, but I don't know if anybody there work,
So essentially, you provide the physical structure.
Right.
And it's leased by someone else, by the state,
By the state.
to provide those services to those eight individuals. And they have individual bedrooms, but not apartments, right?
Individual bedrooms. And it's a fully accessible unit.
Okay.
Does somebody live with them in the unit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a group home, so to
Right,
speak.
right.
So it's not run by a non-for-profit that's funded by the state. It's being run by the state, as opposed to Riverbrook, which is the.
Oh, so that's a very different.
Yes.
Yeah, it's much different, yeah.
And a lot of towns have this. Most towns that I've worked in have this type of housing.
My
I
sister,
think
my younger sister lives in one outside of Albany. It's a state-run home, but it's like a show home. So it's like a home that they tour other families that have prospective possibility of getting their child in a state facility. So they all live in one home. They all have different bedrooms, and then they have like a manager who is there all the time. And in their case, I don't think that anyone lives in the house with them, but they take shifts and they're all state employees.
Yeah, there's shifts. There's the first,
Yeah.
the day shift, the night
Night
shift,
shift, yeah.
supervisor in each unit.
Yeah.
And I have a son that is has special needs, and he's in New York State also.
Yeah.
But he's in a group home that is owned by a non-for-profit. So it is a group home of young adults, older teenagers like that. I have a question about the parking lot there. You may be able to cozy a building up a little closer to some of the other buildings without getting too much into the forest land there if you went up by where the parking lot is. And I guess the question would be, you have to have X amount of parking lot spaces there, and, do you have too many parking places?
No, we do not.
No, we do not.
You just barely have enough now.
Really tight.
Really tight now, okay, yeah.
How many parking places do you have?
Each unit is given one parking spot.
And we have,
We have
there's
some,
5 by the office for
right, that are
visitors.
visitor
I
parking.
think 2 or 3 up top.
For
Visitors.
visitor?
And then we've got the parking for the 689 program as well. For the workers there.
What is 689?
That's the group home.
The group home, okay. And you're 667?
Right.
Yeah, well, I'm all of those numbers, 667, 689, section 8.
Whoa, okay.
As long as you're not
I
8675309.
know. Or Jenny.
Jenny, right, her name's Jenny that you're putting here on the problems.
Oh, my goodness. Well, would you like to start your presentation?
No, I'm so nervous.
Don't be,
I feel
don't
like I
be.
have nothing else to say after Laura Schufelt. She was gonna tell me what I could and could not do. She said, before I tell you you can't do this, let me figure it out. So after that, I guess I would just like to say that if the town is interested in doing an affordable component, I think the Stockbridge Housing Authority be willing to see what we could help do, contribute. There's all sorts of things. I have the HUD contract, there's project-based vouchers, there's mobile vouchers. Certainly because we are in the town, I would hope that we would be looking for the vouchers from Stockbridge Housing to help complement any project.
I think the thing that is at least in my mind is that, we've been in existence at Heaton Court for 40 years, and I think that we've done a very good job with maintaining it and making sure that it's nice and that it fits into the community. But we're also kind of at a point where we feel like, we're doing that, but we'd also like to see where we can grow, in a logical and maybe not, in a conservative way. You don't want to do too much, but you want to do something. And, that's where we're looking, and where that ends up, we don't know, because we're still as Andrea said, we're waiting to hear. But, we want to grow in some way or another so that we can do more to serve the town.
Because I am not a developer.
Right. I have a crazy
I don't
idea.
have a development department.
And it's always bad to give your crazy ideas in public, but we're supposed to be brainstorming. That, the dirt road that connects you guys to the Marriotts,
Yeah.
how, I know that a lot of people cut past there because they don't want to have to go down, Pine Street and then up Prospect Hill. It's a dirt road. I mean, why not basically,
It's a town road.
that's what I mean. We could conceivably just sort of
Close it.
put the traffic down Pine Street and up Prospect Hill, and you get 50, 60, 70 feet of space along that whole road. And I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but, and I'm probably should, not brainstorm out loud, but,
That's what, I love running on that road. That's my running road.
Yeah, right. It's just, it's not a vetted idea. I tell everyone that out loud. But, you guys live there. What do you think? Could that be an option we should at least look at, or is that crazy idea?
The way I'm looking at everything is that we want to look at all options. We don't, at this point, we don't look at anything as being, no, that's no good. Because we do have some limitations with the property. So we have to be really open-minded as far as what we're going to do and what we can do. And because I think one of the most important things is that we've always blended in with the community very well. And we want to continue to do that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're looking.
But the town owns that road, right?
I think it's a public road, yeah.
But it's a little strange that it's not hard surfaced.
That's what I mean. It's and also there's a dip as you come off it. You get a Prospect out. My little Toyota Prius always bottoms out. It's like I try to stay off it. But for running, I understand.
That could open up enough, that could give enough space possibly to put a building.
Yes, that's very interesting.
With the running path right behind it.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean,
running.
we're open to whatever option makes the most sense. For me, being the chairman, I really want to at least investigate doing something that actually makes the housing authority grow. I mean, yes, for sure, just like with every other development in the world, we have maintenance issues and whatnot and things we need to deal with. But I think we've done a really good job with doing that. And I think that you can do both things at the same time, because I do think we do need to try at least as much as we can to try to serve more people within the community, and maybe in a different way. As I said, talking about the 2-bedroom options. But I want us to grow, but we need to see what we can do and what's logical.
Jim, could you tell us a little bit, is the Stockbridge Housing Authority only project Heaton Court?
Right. That's
But they also run the vouchers for most of South County, right? Or
Yes.
part of South, yeah.
It's South County.
The Section 8 vouchers?
Yep.
Right.
The Section 8 can go all over the county. We have people here. We actually have, we've leased people up in Pittsfield, and that is mainly because they have such a difficult time finding multiple bedroom units. And I can speak to that because in my working life, when I worked, obviously I'm retired now, but I was a housing advocate for many years. at the shelter in Pittsfield. And I used to actually work with homeless families, helping them to find places to live. And obviously I did a lot up in Pittsfield, but, you know, I was able to find some stuff down here, but it was, you know, maybe 2 or 3 units because it was always so difficult, because most of the families I worked with needed at least 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. And I think in the whole time that I was at the shelter, for example, I think I only was able to do 2 3-bedroom apartments in all those years because they're just not available. And they're just, and it's a lot of times the landlords, you know, they can make more money in the private market than they can with the Section 8.
Yeah.
And they don't have as many requirements, but it's a need. It's definitely a need.
Do you have many Section 8 units or vouchers in Heaton Court?
No.
No.
That is all
It's all for
state.
private landlords.
It's all state funded, so their vouchers are not eligible to be used in there. I could maybe try to convert a few units to do that these days, but not interested in doing that because it's running fine.
You have enough, I mean, well, you have more need than you have units.
Well, our state funding is going fine. There's just no need to start breaking up what is now Heaton Court into different types of subsidy.
Right. I mean, we'd like to add more than,
Maybe that'll change in the years to come, but right now it's pretty stable the way it is.
So it sounds like the big need is multi-bedroom, larger and did you mentioned when we were there, when Don and I were there,
It's a 3-bedroom.
That you have a real-
accessible unit.
you have a real need for that right now.
But the trade-off, of course, is that, you know, well, you might get more residents in a large unit. Obviously, you get more units with a small unit, so, you know.
So these 1,500 people that are on my list are for a 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
So there's just not enough affordable housing in this area.
Period.
Period. Right.
Um,
Now, you could,
Families that are issued,
I'm sorry.
families that are issued vouchers have a really big challenge finding a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom.
absolutely.
In this, all of South County.
Will, do the vouchers pay more, excuse me, if it's a bigger unit?
Right, there are payment standards for the program that we review each year, and we just enacted some large increases. HUD kind of encouraged us to allow people to have access to the large increase now and not wait. Usually we do it at annual recertification. So we did that. I got 9 or 10 families that really benefited. I got a nice letter from somebody that, you know, really appreciated that help early, lowering their rent share.
So what is the,
It's more money for a 2 or 3-bedroom.
and what is the voucher pay for a 2-bedroom?
We just raised it to, I think, $1,527.
$1,500.
That's
Right.
rent and utilities.
Right.
So
So
that's the cap.
to put it in perspective, you know, in season anyway, Airbnbs are going for $300 a bedroom a night. So you want to kind of understand the housing crisis. It's if you're at 80% occupancy for 3 months, like most places are, you know, you're at, I mean, what's that, 600 times 22, $14,000 in revenue in the month of July versus $1,527 and you got to pay the utilities, you know, that's what we're up against. And I think that's kind of why we're in a crisis because it's a great place to visit,
A
but
lot
you
of
know.
these vouchers are used at, I have several residents apartments, Berkshire Housing, like Christian Hill Commons and other places. And their rents are very reasonable.
I had a guy knock on my door 2 years ago and said, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that where you are in Stockbridge here, I think I could get $13,000 a month for your home, renting it for those 3 months. And so I invited him in, he looks at the kitchen, he goes, okay, maybe 9.
Clearly you have-
Still low. I mean, that's what we're up against,
I
you know?
actually had to ask a prospective landlord to leave. He was in there, I don't know, he was wheeling and dealing with me and he's like, oh, why do I want to do this? I can get $30,000 from Tanglewood for,
3
and I'm
months.
like, yes, why are you here?
Yeah.
He just
So
kept going down the stairs.
we're kind of talking about things that we all know about, but like, let's say that, we can't build for the sake of discussion. What would be your top 3 wish lists, top 3-ish things that we may be able to help you with on your wish list?
Obviously support in keeping Eaton Court viable. I guess there has been a lot of help in the past. Always the CPA has supported,
Absolutely.
long before I arrived, very supportive. It's been a huge help. I think I told you about the funding I secured. I had $250 on the dollar. And I got this $300,000 project to do the, cement board, the siding and painting.
Yeah.
That was a huge help, just leveraging that funding and the state kicking in this high level asset protection money for us. Things are expensive. Things are 4 times as expensive as they were a couple of years ago to have contractors come out. So that the continued support for our capital improvement projects, I'd like to see, we had that master plan in the beginning there to redo the walkway in the front with a gazebo. There's a master plan out there, some gardens. What else?
The boilers.
The boilers.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in infrastructure. I mean, look, having flower gardens are great are great. And having walkways are important, but, you have to have a boiler and you have to have a roof.
Right, well, that, I would have to say that I think we've concentrated really, really hard on our infrastructure, all our roofs.
Yes, you
in
have.
place.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff gets done at turnover. And I've seen, I've lived there for quite a number of years now. And I've seen a lot more done in the units in the past several years as far as upgrade of appliances, and carpeting and painting and all that stuff. So we really pay attention to our infrastructure. That's the most important thing to me, because, you can have all kinds of white lights and whistles, but, that doesn't mean that the ground that they're on is solid. So that's what we always think about.
Why is it boilers? Because I heard the same thing from Jim Wolf. Why is it that there's no funding for boilers? It seems like people need heat in the winter. I mean, it's like, oh.
We had a company out, CET,
Right.
things be connected to Mass.
Yeah, Lord investor and her husband started
Called me up
that.
and he's like, geez, I'm so sorry, but they just put a halt on all of our money and he was gonna get us boilers, nothing, I'm sorry. We've had the state out, an engineer came out, we had a project in there to replace all the boilers, he came out and he's like, they're fine. I feel like we're limping them along in a couple buildings where they're just being limped along.
So you do need boilers?
Building B, I hope it's not before this winter, but we're definitely having a couple of the buildings. We just had them serviced and the inspection done. We didn't get a great report.
And what's a boiler cost? 15, 20 grand?
We did one in building G when I got there and it was like $60,000.
Yeah, okay.
Well, 60.
16 or 60?
60.
Oh,
So-
60.
And that runs not that, how many units does that run?
Or,
That is
Right.
where the building, the community room, my office, and there's 2 apartments there.
Okay, so each unit of 8 has 4 boilers, right?
There's one in each building.
One in each building.
There's 1 boiler in each building for 8? Oh.
And
There's
what,
problems with the electronics on it too. The state's position for me is they want to get rid of everything gas. So I'm going to have to do air source heat pumps.
that is, and your electric bill will go up rather
We
substantially.
have bought into solar fields. So our electricity, I haven't paid an electric bill in a long time. But we pay for the credits, but it's,
And the heat pumps take it out of the air, doesn't it? Like basically for every kilowatt you put in, you get like 4 out or something. Yeah.
that's another like.
And there's a lot of
50
funding
cents
right
on the
now.
dollar there for my electricity.
Right. And there's a lot of funding for heat pump conversions now. I've heard.
Sustainability money.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do one for the community room.
And is that through MVP or who do you do that through?
This is through DHCD. They have
Okay.
sustainability money that I did ask for.
Because, we, just as another brainstorm, we had that affordable housing component of the municipal vulnerability plan. And because we did we got an extra grant from the state to look at senior housing issues, which we did. And that opens up sustainability grants, climate grants, basically. And that might be something that we could look at because we've been talking with the people from that program about what action grants we might want to apply for next year. And maybe that's, I don't know if that would qualify. No idea, actually. Michael, what do you think? Any chance that heat pumps for heating court? We talked to Carrie Ann the other day.
I don't think those would fit within the action grants because those are climate mitigation ones. Which
Okay.
I'd be providing. But there are all types of incentives through the different programs out there that DOER has through Green Communities. I'm not sure if we could partner with doing something through the Green Communities program. So
Okay.
I'm currently looking at heat pumps for town hall.
Can we do it 2 for 1?
17 years old and starting to fail.
Yeah.
They don't have the longevity that those boilers do either, that's for sure.
They don't?
No, they don't.
Well, that's not good, but yeah, okay.
Do you know what they are? The
The
line
heat pumps?
we have in our home, air to water
I have 2 of them in my house.
heat pumps, They're supposedly we're all going to this. But they're not as efficient as they represent. At least our experience has not been very good.
I know they're improved. I would say about 10 years ago. Was it about 10 years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago? We started doing them at housing authorities, another place that I worked at. So I think they were like the first.
Yeah.
And they weren't that good. They weren't that great, but they've improved.
Terrific. So it sounds like boilers are, it's not an exciting thing, but it's a very important thing. Is that a program? Do you need to have a study done, or do you need to prepare a proposal? You usually have to get funds. In order to get funds, you have to have
Right, so that would come out of my formula funding. Remember, I spoke about it for our capital projects. So I have a technical advisor. He comes out, he'll build the project for me. We'll get an engineer, a designer involved, and they'll let us know.
And do you have the money to do that?
Well, I have my formula funding. Would I have to request any? I don't know at this minute. But the state has a lot of money lately,
Yeah.
Well,
sustainability money, so I'm sure it would cover part of that.
and so what do you have to do? You have to write a grant proposal?
No, we just build a project and we submit the project and then it's approved or denied at the state level.
So how do-
Using their funding.
I see. How do you quote, build a project? What does that mean?
They do the scope of services
Uh-huh.
and then they go right through it all and pick out what we're gonna need, you estimate what the project's going to be.
And you have access to technical people who can do that for you?
Yes.
Ah,
Small housing authorities like Stockbridge, yes, they have, they're called RCAP. Don't ask me, so many acronyms, so little time.
oh my goodness.
So I have a gentleman that I work with, Hugh, and he helps me with all of that stuff.
Fantastic.
It's a side gig when he's not running the highway department. Anyways, okay.
Whoa. So when will Hugh have this proposal so we would know how much it's going to cost?
This all just cropped up today in Building B, so I haven't called him yet. I've been running around, but I'll
And this goes to,
probably have it done in 45 minutes.
Really? Oh, my goodness.
and this goes to, a discussion of, how we figure out our role and how we partner with CPC. We've got a number of options, but I think the idea of leveraging the money is the really important takeaway here, which is, oftentimes there's other source of funding that require some commitment by another source of funding, and we want to,
We could be the other.
yeah, we want to basically, help them leverage it into much bigger grants, so.
So how do we set up a communication or a relationship so that we can hear, Don has taken the responsibility in our group to be the main contact with you. And
That's why you're a leader, Good
right,
at delegating.
I mean, in the past, you haven't had anybody like us to work with. So I guess we're figuring this out, how we can
I can
help you.
I will send Don an email that says,
I need $100,000,
You
right?
have my new email now, right?
is it,
Did I send that, an email to you out of my new email?
I don't know.
The town email?
No, I don't have the town email.
I will do that, because all communications need to be done at our town emails from this point.
It's just D. Eaton.
Right.
Don, I don't know, I get.
I think it's
It's
D.
usually D.
D Eaton,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'll send you an email, or D Eaton at stockbridge-ma.gov.
Right.
Stockbridge-ma.gov.
MA. I'm tired. Let me speak.
Stockbridge.net.
I think it's 9 o'clock.
Stockbridge-ma.gov.
So is this the most burning thing that happened today, I
That's
guess?
good. That's a good pun, by the way.
Today's issue?
I've got a lot of capital projects. I feel like I'm gonna be very busy in the spring. We're gonna do the parking lot repaving. We're gonna do the siding on the side of the buildings and the painting. Doors, we have storm door money we have to do. It's gonna be going out to bid, up at the 689. We're gonna do new outside doors with access switches. So you just have to press the button so the door opens. There's a lot going on. I'd have to go back to home base and take a look at what's up and coming.
When Don and I came to visit and we were walking around, it seems like a very minor thing, and I know it, in the scheme of boilers, it doesn't rank, but it does affect the visual. It seems like all of the tops of the railings on your walkways are peeling, and otherwise, your property is in beautiful condition, but it makes the whole, because they're everywhere, those railings run everywhere.
So I have one maintenance employee. We contract out for other work, and we do have this big project, $302,000, which takes care of the painting.
Well, I was
Just hasn't
wondering,
gone out to bid yet.
So it's already funded, yeah.
It's fun.
but is there a way? They're so vulnerable that it seems like that with so many new materials that, and I hate plastic, but some sort of more impervious material.
Instead of the wood.
Instead of painting them, it seems to me that replacing them so that you don't ever have to paint them again. I mean, there are some really terrific wood-looking materials. I mean, that's a much bigger project, but yet, long-term, it's a huge savings.
But they already have the funding for the paint, so,
Well, that doesn't mean that we can't ask the scope to change.
Yeah, okay.
I would just raise it and ask you to think about it, whether if Hugh, your technical person, can come up with something that would replace those I noticed that the handrails that are down below are plastic.
We did some new ones
Right.
since I've been there.
Because when we were walking around, I noticed, well, you've replaced the lower ones. It's the upper level railings that really don't look well at all. But anyway, as an idea, I wouldn't want them to get in the way of the boilers, but if there's some other way to do that, and it just drives me nuts that we make decisions because, oh, we have the money, so we're gonna paint, when we can maybe we could rethink what a better solution might be. Anything else on your list that we should know about? We really appreciate, and Jim, we really appreciate your.
Jim, I have a question for Jim. Once again, because we're so new at this, and you have so much experience, how does an organization like this, which is really, I think, focused on financing and planning, it's sort of like, how do we work with, for example, the Stockbridge Housing Authority, which obviously has a whole separate set of folks who think specifically about other things. I've never actually been to a SHA meeting. How do you see this group interacting with that group?
That's a good question. I think that in any way that you can. I mean, I look at it as though, any help that we receive is beneficial, whether that be, money for a project, money for, aesthetic things that you're talking about, and also money that we can use to leverage for bigger stuff.
Right.
There's all sorts of things. We just have to find what's the right fit and, how to go about that. I've always looked at it as that any help that you get is good help.
Right. But what help is duplicative in the sense of like, in terms of like, when you guys meet, what are some typical agenda items that, that SHA would have, because we've got commissioners we appoint them, right? Yeah.
No, they're elected.
They're elected. They're actually elected, right? Okay.
I was elected.
Okay.
The board, I've always seen it is the board assists the executive director in running the project.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whenever there's a project that needs to be paid for, we have to vote on it. All the infrastructure stuff, we have to vote on. The board makes it possible for the executive director to do the day-to-day running of the housing authority. I mean, it's really, she tells us what we need, what she needs, and we do everything we can to try to accommodate it so that the place runs. Okay. It's always, I hired Andrea, and my main thought the whole time I was going through the whole process was, I wanted somebody who could run the place. That was the most important thing to me, because if the place runs well on a day-to-day basis, that means it's gonna last longer. And that's how I look at it. I don't know how much more I could add to it other than that.
Okay.
We don't know either. This is all new for us too.
Right.
So we would want to work with you.
Yeah, good.
We can send you all a link. You can attend by Zoom.
All right.
We do the normal things that the board
Right.
does.
Yeah.
I have an ED report. We do all the financials. the warrants,
All right.
any projects, any capital improvements. They have to, you know, I need board permission for any contracts over $10,000. It's a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So it sounds like, we need to hear more about the boilers, I guess. And,
Is that our
that
action?
program.
Do you think that's our action plan?
Is that the most efficient place we could focus right now?
Yes. The only thing is I don't know that I'm gonna be allowed to put in another gas boiler. I think I'm going to have to do air source heat pumps. Because the state is pretty much, they want to get rid of gas.
Yeah.
Right, well, that's everywhere.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't think it's responsible with our global warming. It's not responsible for any of us to be using.
I know there was a repair, I guess we repaired this one already though, my maintenance employees. Usually once you repair it once, there's a repair kit. There's not really much use in repairing it again. He told me something was $1,000. A pump maybe, a pump for it.
And what is the, are there baseboard hot water? Is that,
Yes.
and so you just need something to produce the hot water? Right. Usually those air source though, only work down to about, I think 17 degrees, and there has to be a backup. Usually.
Yeah.
I mean, the air source ones are great, but they don't work at sub-zero or even below 17 degrees. So I don't know exactly what you're buying and typically the backup boilers run on propane or gas, so you really don't get away from petroleum.
And we're doing one in our community room because our central air failed. And they're taking out my heating system. They said I had to.
Yeah.
That if I was gonna take the sustainability money, I was like, why can't I have that for a backup? They're like, no, we're taking it out. Anyway, but I will get you a list, you know, thinking about more money maybe to do the railings in a material
If there's.
for this big project coming up.
Right, if there, I don't know exactly, because I don't know exactly how they're constructed, but there are materials that might be longer lasting and don't have to be painted.
I feel like the flooring is Trex board, but those,
Yeah.
those were done, I think, not too long ago, but they everything is wood there. That's all. Jamie runs around with a paintbrush in the spring and the fall.
The upper decks, they're a different material though.
Yeah, it's like Trex.
Yeah.
Trex is typically what people use now for flooring. Okay,
And that's
We have still a lot of stuff to do here, don't we?
yes, all right, moving on. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you for coming, it's very, and I hope Jim, and I hope you'll be available to us, and Andrea, I hope you will, we can keep this direct communication with you. We're learning our way.
Well, you know, I would also say that so are we. You know, this is, Heaton Core is existed one way for a long time. And so now we want to see what else we can do, and it's new to us too. But, you know, I think the fact that we want to do something positive within the community is what's the most important thing.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Patrick, next agenda, CPC money. We need to apply. That's,
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the applicate the grant cycle for CPC's annual. I think that, one of the things we need to talk about is just sort of, I think this group has a little more flexibility, you know, in terms of the timing of being able to assist. But, you know, traditionally CPC has been kind of an annual sort of plan solution for folks who need the resources. So, you know, I don't really have an answer for whether folks should be requesting grants from us or from CPC or both, or which even project types. It goes back to having good policies and communications. I don't really know yet with CPC what their thoughts would be on, you know, do they expect either to come in directly or do they want to follow things through us and have us deal with them? I don't know the answers to that yet.
Okay.
So.
Is that Sally?
Yeah, Sally's the chair.
And how many people, I mean, should we appear before them or?
Yeah, I mean,
Sally,
CPC has got a representative from some of the various, like, I believe there's a Parks and Rec rep, there's 2 select board reps. There's I think 7 people on CPC. But, you know, usually usually the meetings are review applications, have folks come in and make presentations, debate them, decide what's going to get funded, then it goes to town meeting. This app adds in yet again, another thing we've never done, which is, you know, having a conversation around what's the best way to deploy the CPC resources that go toward housing. We don't want to create bureaucracy. At the same token, we may have more flexibility than they have, since we can, you know, we're not limited by the town meeting cycle.
What's the timing in terms of the application to them?
Michael, when is CPC going to open? Soon, right?
Don't have an exact timeline. You know, the biggest thing with the CPC is when you guys receive the funds, right, you can just dole them out. Once they're appropriated to the housing trust, you can figure out which projects that you want to support and do it without being tied up with a particular time frame. So, yeah, that's the biggest advantage. You still have to follow all the requirements of the CPC funds on what they could be used for. Like, we have to be careful that we are doing rehabilitation. We are not doing maintenance. We're not allowed to do maintenance on these properties using CPC funds. So those are some things that we have to consider. So, you know.
When are the applications open?
The board hasn't said it yet.
Probably soon, next few weeks.
So typically, in the past, Michael, when has it been?
Typically it's in December.
Is it just for a month?
Last year was a month. It's been, at one point was gonna be like a 2-week period, so it depends.
Yeah.
We are proposing an alternate going forward for CPC, but right now it's still being run that way. But we'll know when they come out. This committee, you know, would do what it's done in, probably what's done in the past couple of years is just apply for a chunk of the money to be used for affordable housing projects.
Right.
Okay.
And we have to, is there a form?
Yeah, we have to fill out, we did it for the last 2 years. We could literally just take what we did and, you know, kind of duplicate it.
Okay, so we should, and how much does CPC have? How much money?
I don't have that right in front of me right now.
Approximately? I mean, is it $1 million or is it 500?
CPC's funded 3%.
Yeah, CPC has different buckets of money that have to go into different percentages, different projects. So
I see.
what will end up happening is you end up with 4 different funds of CPC funding. So open space, recreation, affordable housing, historical preservation, and then undesignated, which can be used for anything. Last year was a combination of undesignated and affordable housing funds that went into the trust.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there's also carryover money from prior years.
Turn back money. Yeah.
Yeah, and then 3% of when we adopted CPC, I believe it's 3% of whatever the tax bill's level is added on, and that comes from the taxpayers, and then the state matches some or all. Lately, they've been matching more. I mean, not more than 3%, they've been matching closer to the maximum. So we end up, I think last year with the pile of money was in the $400,000 to $500,000 range of new money that year. And a minimum of 10% of that has to go into a housing project. Now, somebody like Andrea, they can apply directly, and we've been trying to catch up. Traditionally, there was a lot of housing, CPC really built Pinewoods initially. That was the main driver, but sort of since then, we haven't done so much with the housing side. So this came about by us trying to figure out how to better, support housing needs. So.
The Affordable Housing Trust itself, if you remember, in one of the documents that was handed out on creation is you guys could end up receiving CPC could just take the affordable housing, give it all to you guys, and then let you guys distribute it on projects that you need. So I know what you're saying, Patrick. They could apply both, but CPC also might in the future just want to give it to this committee and then let this committee, because once it's been appropriated, you can figure out which projects to use it toward.
Yeah, and that's up to them, though.
That's CPC, yeah, but CPC would need to decide that, right, Michael?
Yes, CPC would need to decide that, and then you are still obligated to meet the requirements of CPC as far as use
Of their money.
What's allowed under the CPC and not. So what would happen is as you have a project such as, usually what we do is we send any project requests to our legal counsel to compare against the CPC requirements of law, and then they give an opinion back on what we can or cannot do. You'll note that there were examples given in the book that was handed out that, like, if you're doing a project that's 50% affordable housing and 50% other housing, you could only use on the 50% the CPC funds that were for affordable housing. So there are limitations on how you can use it. And of course, you can never use it for just maintenance. It's got to be for rehabilitation. Some of that is in the way people make sure they word any application.
Okay. So Patrick,
I'll touch base with Sally and sort of have a conversation and try to get an initial meeting that maybe we could talk about these issues beyond the, typical grant review sort of meetings. It's something that we have to talk about and figure out.
okay, so we need to make a star there. These other items, the 3 items are just areas that I thought we might be able to learn from. And Jan, you've been able to, start the conversation with Lennox. Do we have agreement or that perhaps talking to these other towns would be a good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means we get to divide those up.
So I'll see if I can to have a conversation with Williamstown
Okay.
before our next meeting.
All right.
And the RPC one, is that what you're referring to, the one right there?
Right, that's this.
Okay, and
here,
did you
this
download
yours.
that? Oh, do you have extras?
Yeah, I got 7.
Oh, okay, great.
Whoops. All right, so Jen, if you take Williamstown, Pittsfield, anyone interested? I'd be happy to do that. Who would like Great Barrington? Of course, I hear a loud. All right, Don, you already have a big one.
Who would I be contacting in Great Barrington, I guess?
I don't know, we, actually,
CDC or?
no, they have a trust like
Yeah,
us.
trust, okay, I can do
I
it.
don't know if you could just find out. I have the Williamstown one,
Oh, you do?
yep, and I have, I'll do Pittsfield, and I have that. Great Barrington, I don't.
I'll
but
do, I have contact.
We should, somebody, have you ever had any contact
With Pittsfield?
No,
Great
Great Barrington.
Barrington.
Not for the trust, no.
Okay.
I know people on the planning board.
Right, or called, was it Chris Rumble?
This, the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, which is that study. The gentleman who did that study called me, and it might be one of your colleagues, Liz, Christine
Rasmussen,
Rasmussen.
She's not a colleague of mine.
no,
Isn't she on the planning board?
she used to be,
Oh, she used to be.
but she's one of the BRPC reps now for the town.
So I thought she was, so she's not on the planning board?
No.
Okay. Anyway, she is the rep of our planning board to be our.
Select board, actually.
So, yeah, not, the planning board, it would be,
It's Nancy Socha.
right, Nancy Socha.
So we have two reps, one for the select board, we appointed Christine.
I
And then the
see.
planning board appointed.
Oh, excuse me, I misunderstood. Anyway, we do have two people from the town who are on this commission. But the gentleman who actually did the study called me, and we had a very short conversation about the study. And if I can find somebody interesting, I'll have someone come and talk to us.
Okay.
And the last one, Don, I think that's you.
Yeah, so what would you like out of me for this? Would you like me to give you a rundown? Give the group a rundown of what CDC is doing and what's
Yeah,
going on?
I know, since you're on the board.
Yeah, I can do
would be
that. For the next,
ideal.
I can do that.
And do you see, do you see opportunities to collaborate with them, with us?
Oh, yeah, well, the potential is definitely there. I mean, right now, we're in the process, something just fell in the lap of purchasing a property in downtown Great Barrington. Right now.
Did it happen today?
Well, we signed a purchase and sale agreement, so we just have 60 days to come up with that, all this is going on right
I saw
now.
it yesterday. That's why I'm asking.
You know which one I'm
I
talking
think
about?
so.
You know, what I'm I'm not really well to say too much
No,
right
we
now
can't say anything.
about what it, where it is and what it is, except that something pretty positive has happened. But, so right now, everyone's got their heads on that.
And so you have to quickly come up with the funds? Or did that happens to you? Do you, all of a sudden you've got a project, you've got 60 days to?
Yeah, well, down payment, and we've got people on the board that, are willing to help with
Do that.
that loan the money, to get us over the hump and, so we're, that's pretty exciting stuff.
Oh, wow, yeah, that's fabulous.
We've got, we're really looking for ideas, looking for opportunities. It's just, so like even possibly if there was some building that would be going on here at Heaton Court, then that might be something that would be, I could present it to them,
They would, do you have the staff to do development, to actually build things?
We hire like a project manager that works with the general contractor, and the general contractor builds it.
Why don't you give us a presentation next time?
Yeah,
Just-
Yeah, and I can get this executive director to come in and sit down
I think
sometime.
that
She
could be
wants to
really-
do it.
Yeah, I think that would be really
I
interesting.
don't know if next time is the right time or not.
Well, that's sort of our next agenda item. Our next meeting is the 7th of December. Does that still work for everybody? Is that good for you? Sorry,
December 7th.
yeah, is that all right?
Yeah,
And June's coming in then?
June's coming in then.
June's going to come to that.
Maybe the CDC could be the meeting after that?
The meeting after that. We don't have a date for the next one.
Yeah, when we get into January, I'd like to see if we could have our meetings either Monday evening or Thursday evening.
Okay.
Rather than right in the middle of the week.
Okay.
Because I'm not always here every.
Okay, well, Monday is better.
Mondays are almost
Thursday.
always
No,
open.
no, no, they're terrible.
Wednesday's tough for me too, because I have
Mondays are impossible.
Oh, Mondays, all right, well, let's
commitments every
talk about
Wednesday.
this.
I skip.
Okay,
Oh, wait a
so,
minute, not, well, for 6 months, it's okay.
okay,
All
all right. So when does the select board meet?
Thursday.
That meets on Thursdays, okay. What, just once a month?
No, we are the second and fourth Thursday.
Second and fourth Thursday. You would like Monday, that's not good for you?
Monday or Thursday.
Thursdays
better.
are better.
Thursday, is that all right?
Yeah.
Is Thursday good for you, John?
Better than Don.
Done.
Yes, Don, did I call you the right name?
Fred.
Fred, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Monday or Thursday, Monday would be better. No one does anything
I
on
can do
Monday.
Mondays for a while. I just can't do them after.
Called you Randy, I'm Peter on this.
I saw,
We're all like kind of, it's been a busy week already. It's like Wednesday.
like Thursday better than Monday?
No, I do
Probably.
once every night.
Which do you prefer?
We like Monday, don't we?
Okay, yeah, we like Monday.
All right,
Mondays are good.
Monday,
Yeah, Mondays are fine.
it's Monday, it's fine.
Yeah, because we don't have many meetings. The select board used to meet on Mondays. They moved a few years ago, so
Okay.
they're traditionally that's
All right.
been an open night.
Is that good?
So we want to do like the fifth or the.
Okay.
'Cause that isn't the
Let's look
fifth.
at a calendar here.
Oh, in January.
Nobody,
Is that
So,
right?
but are we doing Wednesday or we're going to do?
No,
Monday.
well, is the 7th, or do you want to change that?
Well, I think we keep the
Let's change
seventh.
it.
Oh, you want to change it?
Why make
Well, if it's
Jan Drevel,
inconvenient.
Well, I can't do.
Well, if June's already set up on the 7th.
Oh, I see,
She's
right,
set up
right,
on the
right,
7th,
right.
and I
Okay,
can't
that's a good
start
point.
till January for the
Yeah.
Mondays.
Okay.
That's fine.
The holidays, I think after the 7th is complicated. So what, we don't want January 1st.
January 9th?
How about the 9th?
January 6th.
No,
Fridays
January.
are out. No,
No,
Okay.
January 9th?
yep.
January 9th.
All right.
And how about if we have the
CDC.
9th and the 23rd?
twice a month.
What? Come on.
Is that too much?
I have a job.
This is at night.
That's true. We don't work at night, do you?
Do you work at
If we
night?
did it every 2 weeks, we'd have less to do in each meeting.
Yes,
If you think about
yes.
it that way. So we wouldn't
Why,
be out
this is
this
why
late.
we should meet more often? Is that what you're coming with the reasons of why we should have more meetings?
Well, the other,
6 a.m.
the other
Daily
reason,
Start, just to start. We don't have to.
for the first few months, if we're trying to get up the learning curve here, we got a lot of people to meet. Does that work for
I
you?
think that eventually we'll definitely settle into
Once a month.
once a month.
Right.
You know,
But-
if that, I mean, right.
So if we meet twice a month, can we also target to have the meetings be no more than an hour and a half?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can certainly do that. Well, we can.
No, you're not even an hour. Like,
Maybe like an hour plus.
Okay. An hour plus.
Look, we're not going to have action items until we actually start to figure out what we want to do.
Right.
So I think we come in, we got a quick presentation. We talk about, kind of if there anything came up at the various places we're monitoring and,
Make us,
go to Michael's.
There you go.
We could meet at Michael's.
Then we could continue the meeting.
We only needed a Zoom if the chair wants to. We could just have Michael's meetings.
So is it 9 o'clock?
Public, I'm
I
kidding.
mean, November 9th,
We're all
9
touching them.
o'clock.
November 9th.
Okay, so let's say January and February. The
Oh, no.
9th, the 23rd, the 6th, and what's the 20th? That's a holiday.
Yeah. How about we schedule 3 and then
Yeah,
see how they're
right, go
going
from
and see if we
there.
actually need to do
So
2.
January 9th,
All right, so our next meetings are, next meeting is December 7th.
Yep.
right,
And then we're going to do January 9,
which is a Monday.
which is a Monday. January 23rd,
Monday.
which is also a Monday. And February 6th.
Monday.
okay.
Now,
Going up out of the country,
when are you going?
going February What'd you say, February what?
6th.
6th, but you're leaving the 5th or the morning of the 6th.
You know, you can subscribe to the town calendar and it auto-populates.
We're leaving the 6th.
You are.
You are?
Yes.
Let's get through to the January 23rd and figure out
Yeah,
from there.
I think that sounds.
Okay, we got 2 meetings. We
All right.
can agree on.
Go.
3 meetings.
Yeah.
December 7, January 9, and January 23rd. And June's coming to our next meeting.
Yep.
Is there any other business? Does anyone have an announcement? Michaela, would you like to say anything? You're in the audience.
Wow, that's good to hear.
That was great.
Terrific.
And I'm very interested in participating and helping and I think was what you were saying about like your findings and that's exactly kind of why it's interesting to me is, you know, how do you keep these towns thriving and
Alive.
bring in a workforce and how do you bring in families and still understand that, you know, these short-term rentals are also revenue for people who live in these places.
Right,
Yeah.
It's not
right.
just absentee people, so it's a tricky.
Right. And how do you encourage the people who live here and want to offer it? Well, I mean, or live here part-time or full-time and want to offer it versus the pure, you know, financial plays where people like are completely absentee. These are not easy issues, but yeah.
So my husband's a contractor, so that's also we're interested in sort of more eco collaborative friendly building and things like that. So how we can, he can also be a sounding board too.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, he's awesome.
What's your husband's name?
So his name's Joe Short. He's a
Short?
Yeah, he's a licensed contractor, but he works at Harvard in the technical theater. So he actually we met in the arts. So he does building and project management.
Oh,
He's
cool.
yeah, so he's awesome.
And how do you spell your first name?
Michaela, it's MCC.
Oh my God, I'd never.
Yeah, no.
AELA.
MCCAELA.
Okay. It's one of are they little Cs or they're all?
And
One little C, one.
And Michaela works in Nantucket.
and she's the youngest person in the room.
That's why, that's why we give her the hard sell to get her on. One of the many reasons.
All right, terrific. So, thank you for coming. It's
Yeah.
nice to have an audience.
It was very.
And Michael, thank you for being
Thanks,
with us.
Michael.
Yes, thank you.
See you, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
And is everyone in favor?
Aye.
Hell yeah.